Hi, welcome to our science flipped classroom about animals classification. In this occasion, I want to link you with our class through this exciting video where you have to challenge your ability to find hidden animals. Before I start with our topic, let's remember some important aspects about the previous topic that we have learned, that is cells. All the living things are made up of cells. A cell is the smallest unit of life and they have all the characteristics of a living thing. The cell at the same time is divided into two groups, unicellular and pluricellular. The difference between these two groups is that when we talk about unicellular living things, they are made up just for one cell. But when we talk about pluricellular living things, they are made up by more than one cell. Let's know the purpose for our flipped classroom. The objective with this activity is that the students know the classification of the animals through their characteristics. To start with the development of this class, we are going to talk about the animals classification. Around the world, we can find different types of animals, and they can be different or similar. Classify animals is something that is very important because that helps us to identify and understand them. But how do we classify animals? It's so easy. Through their characteristics. Depending on them, they are assigned into groups. Through the analysis of these characteristics, we can find two main groups. The first is called vertebrates, and it's called in this way because they don't have any backbone. And the other group is the group of vertebrate animals, and the difference between the first one is that they have a backbone. In this moment, we're going to focus on vertebrate classification. But before I start with that, it's important that we know some important concepts about the characteristics which help us to classify them. So the first is the habitat. When we talk about the habitat, talk about the place where the animal lives. Body covering, which is the way their skin is protected of. A structure is or are the main characteristics of the animal in physical appearance. Breathing is the way they take oxygen from the air, and the last one, that is the reproduction, so is the way that they are double. Okay, so the first group is the group of mammals. To recognize a mammal animal, I have to know the place where they live, that is, their habitat. So these kind of animals can live in cold or warmer places. Another point is the way their body is covered off. So in this case, they have hair. When we talk about the structure of mammal animal, we have to say that they walk in four legs. Another characteristic of mammals animals is that they use their lungs to breathe. And The last way we can recognize a mammal animal is that they give birth, and after they have their babies, they suckle them. The second group is the group of birds. Birds can live in cold and warmer places. What protects their body are the feathers, and the principal things about a bird is that they walk in two legs, they have wings, and one beak. As a mammal, the birds breathe through their lungs, but in this case the way the birds reproduce themselves is laying eggs. Here we have the third group, and is the group of fish. Different to mammals and birds, fish live in water, and they can live in salt or fresh water. Their body is covered with scales, and the principal characteristic when we talk about the structure is that they have fins, which help them to swim. Taking into account fish have to take the oxygen from the air of the water, they have different structure. They use something that is called gills to breathe. On the other hand, their reproduction is through laying eggs, but the difference with birds is that these eggs are soft. The fourth group is amphibians, and they live in land or water. In this case, their skin is not covering for anything, but most of the time they are moist. The characteristic of their structure is that they are cold-blooded. To breathe, amphibians need lungs and their skin, but in some cases when they are babies they need gills to be able to breathe. In this case, they reproduce themselves laying eggs, but they do it in water. The last but not the least is the group of reptiles, and as amphibians they can live in land or water, but in this case they are covered with scales and their skin is so dry. The principal characteristics of reptiles about the structure is that they have 4 legs and they are cold-blooded. Reptiles breathe through their lungs and their reproduction is laying eggs, but in this case these eggs are or have a hard shell. Let's follow with our next part, that is the feedback. In order to verify if all the concepts were learned, I want that you try to do this activity that is so easy. I want that you try to tell me what type of animal is the one that is in the chart, and you have to tell me the reason you think this is the way we can classify that animal. To sum up all the things that we have learned, here we have our smart note. So remember, animals classification is so important because we can understand the animals, and from their characteristics we classify them into invertebrates and vertebrates. Vertebrates animals are divided at the same time into groups like amphibians, birds, fish, mammals, and reptiles. Each one has their own characteristics focused on their habitat, reproduction, structure, body covering, And this is the way we can identify the classification of each animal. Let's apply our knowledge. So, in this assessment, what we want is that you create your own vertebrate animal and talk about it, taking into account items like their habitat, their structure, body covering, breathing, and reproduction. And that's it. Thank you for your attention, and remember, there is nothing you can't do if you really want to.